it's Pam from Sewell Crafts by Pam, and today I have a card for you featuring the stamp and die that come in the Simon Says Stamp June 2016 card kit. I'm starting off my card by taking some watercolor paper that I have cut down, and I have used blue painter's tape to tape it down to my craft mat, and I've pulled 3 distress inks to create my background today. For my distress inks, I am using crushed olive, evergreen bow, and shaded lilac. I figured these colors would look great together, but I also got the idea from the current My Favorite Things color challenge. They have 4 colors that consist of green, blue, and purples. And so I just matched them up with the distress inks that I have and decided that I would create a distress ink background using those colors. You can see in the video that I went from my green to my blue to my purple color, and I blended in between all the colors. The video sped up quite a bit because it took some time to actually apply the inks to the paper as well as blend them together so there wasn't any clear beginning or end between the colors. To add some more interest to my background, I decided to use a spray bottle to spray some water onto my distress ink background, and then I used a paper towel to lift up that color that was reactivated by the water. Then to add some sparkle to my background, I used some sparkle shimmer spritz and sprayed it all over the background. It's kind of hard to see in the video, but you'll see it towards the end. I then finished off the background by heat setting it with a heat tool to make sure it was completely dry before I removed it from my craft mat. As I've stated in previous videos, be sure that when you're removing your painter's tape to do it slowly so it doesn't rip the background you just spent a lot of time making. In this close-up, you can see a little bit of that shimmer that I sprayed earlier. Now that my background is finished, it's time to cut it down so that I can use it on my card. When I first began creating my distress ink background, I didn't know how I was going to use it in my card, but once I was done, I decided to refer to the Mojo Monday sketch for this week, and I used their card sketch to come up with an idea of how to cut down my distress ink background to use it on my card. Now you saw that I took some extra steps using painter tape to kind of mark where I wanted to cut my distress ink background. I don't really think these steps are necessary. I just wanted to make sure that I applied my background at a diagonal so that most of the color would show instead of just a small amount of the color by placing it horizontal. And just like the Mojo Monday sketch, I'm leaving a small gap in between the small piece and the large piece of watercolor paper. Now that I have adhered those pieces to my card base, I can cut off the excess on each side. I then pulled some Stampin' Up! Bermuda Bay paper to adhere to the top and the bottom of the card base, and again I just cut off the excess from the card. The Bermuda Bay paper was looking kind of plain against the distress ink background, so I decided that I would do some tone-on-tone stamping. I pulled the stamp set that was included with the Simon Says Stamp June 2016 card kit because I was already going to use the dream die that was also included in the kit. And so when I pulled that out, I decided that I would use some of the leaf vines and add that as some interest to the Bermuda blue paper. And I did the tone-on-tone background by using my Misty to pick up the leaf vines after I had placed them where I wanted them on my card. And then I applied Versamark ink to the stamps and stamped it onto my background. This gave it a tone-on-tone look because where the Versamark ink was applied, the paper was a little bit darker. And this gave it an appearance as if I had taken some Bermuda blue ink and applied it to the Bermuda blue paper. I could have done that, but if I had used the Bermuda blue ink, it would have appeared a lot darker on the paper than the Versamark ink, and I really just wanted a subtle look to accompany the distress ink background, not to take over the card or take away from that background that I created. And here you can see that tone-on-tone look up close. Now I'm using some basic white cardstock to cut out the dream die that was included in the Simon Says stamp card kit. And I cut it out 5 times, but two of those times, because of the way that they were positioned and because of how my plate is bent a little bit, it didn't cut through all the way. So you can see here that I only had 3 die cuts that came out, and I decided to just go with that 3, and that was enough for me. So I'm using some Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to adhere each dream die cut to another. So I'm stacking them one on top of the other to create some dimension to have like a thicker die cut without having to cut out a foam piece and gluing it to the back. By doing it this way, I feel like it gives it a cleaner look. Also, by using that multi-matte medium, when the glue dries, if there's any excess glue on top of the die, you're not going to see it because it's going to dry matte. And I'm finishing off that die cut by putting clear Winkasella all over it, along with the stamped tone on tone leaf and leaf vines. And just as I did before, I'm also using that Ranger Multi-Matte Medium to adhere the dream die cut to my distressed background. That way, if there's any excess glue, it won't show on the background I created. And if there was a glob of excess glue, I just used my tweezers to remove that glue just because it was what I had handy on my desk. And to finish off my card, I'm scattering some 6mm and 4mm Pretty Pink Posh clear sparkling sequins all over my card. Sometimes I feel like I go a little bit overboard with my sequins, but I just feel like they look so pretty. So I don't know. I like them. And right now, they're just my favorite finishing touch to my cards. So I'll keep using them until I get tired of them, and then I'll probably start using them less. And then once I figured out the placement for all of my sequins, I am using some glue dots to adhere them to my card. I feel like using these are a lot less messier than using liquid glue. Also, I know that they're going to be secure and I don't have to wait for them to dry. So that pretty much finishes off my card for today. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to see more. As always, the supplies I use will be listed in the description below, and leave a comment if you have any questions. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.